get this party started. Welcome to today's Monday Mindset Call. It is your girl, Nikki Sutherland. We are here each and every Monday for our mindset, to get our minds right. People all over the world, you have tuned in to be here today, and I'm very, very excited for today's session, which is indeed titled Raise Your Standards. If you've seen the message, go ahead and put RYS in the chat. Raise your standards. And we're specifically going to be talking out the patterns of our focus. Where do we put our focus in order to raise your standards? RYS today. Now, the only really, I remember going through a time where I had, I was very financially stable. I had, great marriage, kids doing well. We were financially in a great place. We just upgraded the house, the car, and I found myself in a place where I was literally depressed, and I couldn't understand it myself. I couldn't understand why on earth I was depressed when everything seemed to be going great. And when I established that, when I came out of that season, there was one thing that stood out to me. And when I started to really study the word and get deeper into it, the reason why I felt depressed when things looked like they were amazing was because I'd stopped growing. I'd hit a level in my career. I'd hit most of the goals that I said I wanted to hit, and I stopped growing. And let me tell you this, the only true way to really feel joy and to feel happiness is when you are growing, when you are going towards something, when you are fulfilling a purpose in your life. Don't ever think to yourself that when you get to this place, everything's going to be amazing. Guys, when I hit 10,000 a month, I said when I get to 15. When I hit 15, I said when I get to 25. Every single goal I hit, it was always another goal. Now I'm like, when I get to 100,000 a month, it's always growing consistently. Same when I was single, I was like, okay, when I get married, everything's gonna be great. When we were married, we had to really understand how to get on with each other. Now we get on with each other. Now we're working out whose goals we're gonna focus on first. When we worked out on whose goal, it's always going to be another level of growth, right? And so the only true way that you're really happy, really feeling fulfilled, is when you're raising the standard in your life, when you're raising the bar to what you're actually capable of. A lot of people are living underneath their capabilities. And I want to encourage you today that there's another level. Someone say there's another level. And you got to stop holding back, right? You literally have to let go and let yourself get to a place where you say, do you know what, God? Over to you. I'm going to stop holding back. I'm going to stop being this control freak. I'm going to stop holding myself back from that new level, and I'm going to get closer to my true self. I'm going to get closer to who it is that I've been called to be. And so I'm going to give you, I'd say, around 7 tips, and then we're going to get on to 3 things that I think are very important to ask ourselves when it comes to, really leveling up our standards and raising that bar one more time. The first thing is this. Don't let this year be like last year. Whether you are happy with how last year ended or whether you're not so happy with how last year ended, get to a point where every year you feel as though there's been some growth in some area of your life. How many of you know that wherever you end up this year is going to be further than where you were last year? Put a yes in the chat. There's got to be growth in your relationships. There's got to be growth financially. There's going to be growth when it comes to your children's capabilities. There's going to be growth when it comes to even your getting promoted at work or the environment you're around. Every single year, you want to be able to look back and say, okay, that was a good year, but guess what? This year was better. And this year was better because this happened or that happened. You see, it's not what the outcome is necessarily, it's who you become in the process. Over the years of, certain successes in my life, I can look back and say, I've become a better person. I've learned something. There's been growth in who I am. And that's why that thing just feels that little bit more sweeter. Some of us, if we got it too fast, we lose it straight away because there was no process to it. That's why there's a lot of people who win the lottery. There's a lot of people who, who get inheritance and they lose it straight away because there's been no process, right? There's been no real toil to be able to manage what it is that we're celebrating. And so I want us to fall in love with the process, fall in love with understanding that I'm growing, I'm becoming better than I was last year. And I don't know what area in your life you're going to be really specific about or strategic about. You know, sometimes I would say really focus on one thing. Other of you, you may have a combination of a few different areas that you want to work on. But are you clear? Are you really clear on the areas that you want to work on, that when you get to the end of this year, you can say to yourself, okay, things may not be, you know, perfect, but this is where I've grown. This is the next level for me. The second thing I want you to do in order to really raise your standards is this. Don't wait for things to happen. Stop waiting for things to happen. You got to work. You got to learn. You can't play the victim. You got to be the victor in your own story. A lot of people sit and they wait for other people's permission, or they wait for somebody else to give to them what it is that they need. Stop waiting for other people to make things happen for you. You make things happen for you. You see, one of the quotes that I love is winners win. Are you a winner? You know, winners just win. Don't play the victim. Don't sit in the pity party. Yes, I'm sure there's so many things that you could say. We could exchange stories on how many things have happened to each and every one of us that could have, should have, would have held us down. Right? If I sat here and gave you a list of the things that happened to me just over the last 3 years, some people would say, Nikki, how are you still standing? How are you still surviving? Well, guess what? I understand that I can't wait for other people to make things happen for me. I have to make things happen for me. So instead of saying to myself, what's the worst that can happen? You know, instead of saying to myself, oh, this is not going to happen unless this happens. I can't do this and I can't do that. I say to myself, what can I do? What can I do to be able to take control over this situation? I cannot control what I cannot control, but I can control what I can control. And some of you will catch that tomorrow. What can you control? What can you take control of? Number 3 is make progress. As I said to you at the beginning, you know, happiness comes with progression. You feel so much more happier when things are progressing. How many of you are in a relationship right now that you start that relationship, you get the butterflies in your stomach, and then he may say, you know what, I want to make this official. Can we officially date? And then you feel that little bit more happier because there's progress. And then the next thing is okay, we're going, you know, he's going to propose now, and there's an engagement, and you feel good that there's progress. And then all of a sudden you hear these stories, people say, oh, when they got married, everything fell apart. And most of the time it's because people stop making progress. They stop doing what they were doing at the beginning. They stop dating each other. They stop having communication because they hit that point. So, okay, we're married now. We've hit the jackpot. And it's the same in business. It's the same at work. When you first went for that job interview, you put on your suit, you did your hair, you made an effort. Now you've been working there 5 years. You get out of bed 5 minutes before, drag on the dusty jeans, throw on a hat, and you don't even care how you look at that job, because guess what? You stop making progress. You stop feeling like there is, and I'll tell you this, that's where you start to feel less happy. That's where you start to lose your joy. That's where you start to say to yourself, oh my God, I'm not happy here. Listen, progress equals happiness. And when you're making progress, you start to feel happier. When you feel happier, you start to feel alive. And guess what happens when you start to feel alive? When you start to feel alive, you start to enjoy life that little bit more, when you begin to start making decisions, you start to act. And guess what? It's a full-blown circle with more things happening. What can you do right now to make progress in your situation? Or have you got to a place where you're like, okay, I'm just plodding along. Things are not so bad. You know, bills are being paid. Things are happening okay. Or maybe things are, maybe you're a real leader. Maybe you're somebody that's, you know, you've got leadership responsibilities. Your team are doing well. You're doing well. But you're still at that place where it's like, okay, you've been doing the same routine for the last 3-4 months, last 5-6 months, last 7-8 months, last 9-12 months. What's the level up for you and your team? What's the level up for you and your organization? What's the level up for you in your marriage? What do you need to do more of to make progress? Make progress. We always got to be striving to making progress. Number 4, here we go. Take ownership and value yourself. This is key when it comes to, you know, raising your standards. Number 1, you got to take ownership of where you are. Number 2, you got to really value yourself to want to get to that next level. So number 1 is take ownership And the part two of this number four, that was a bit tricky, is number four, but number one is take ownership. Number two is to value yourself. If you're taking notes, you're all over the place. But number four is take ownership and value yourself. The first part of taking ownership is you looking in the mirror. And let me tell you, when I had my breakthrough, I looked myself in the mirror. I looked myself in the mirror. I cried tears and I said, Nikki, you got to grow. This needs to stop. You got to get to bed earlier. You got to wake up on time. You got to stop wasting time. You got to start making those calls. You got to invest in your business. You got to invest in technology. You need to start to hire some staff. I'm going to work on me. I'm going to work on certain things. You get so crazy focused. You want to take ownership that you look yourself in the mirror and you say, okay, enough is enough. It's time to grow. It's time to grow. And then you value yourself enough to actually do it, to tell yourself, I'm worth more. I'm worth a better relationship. You know, one time I said to myself, you know, enough is enough. I'm so focused on business. I need to spend some time in my relationship. I need to make sure that I'm putting some good effort into my relationship. I need to make sure I'm spending time with my kids. I need to make sure I'm spending time with my husband. Enough is enough. I got to hold myself accountable. The same way, Nikki, you're a beast and you set goals for your business. You set goals for your organization. You set goals for your vision. You also got to have a vision for your household. What's the vision for my relationship? What's the vision for my duties as a wife? What's the vision for me and my kids? And we got this board out. We got everybody to write it down. And every Sunday of the month, we're sitting down there going through our goals. Action. Action. But you got to take ownership. It's not everybody else's fault. It's not the world's fault. It's not the government's fault. We got to take ownership of our stuff, ownership of where we are. Are you lazy? Are you sitting around just making fake promises to yourself? You see, we hold other people accountable for the promises that they make to us. Oh yeah, somebody made a promise and they break it. We very much remember that. Oh yeah, they said they were going to do this and they didn't do that. They said they were going to do this and they didn't do that. But what about the promises you made to yourself? You promised yourself you're going to be rich this year. Have you fulfilled that? You promised yourself you was going to start looking after your appearance this year. Have you done that? You promised yourself you were going to grow a team this year. Have you done that? You promised yourself you're going to invest more time into your personal development. Have you done that? You promised yourself you were going to invest in yourself more. You were going to buy yourself an outfit here or there. You were going to make a conscious decision to work out and to get yourself fit. You promised yourself this. You see, one of the quotes I absolutely love from Stephen Covey is this. He says, we judge other people by their actions, but we judge ourselves by our intentions. We judge others by their actions, but we judge ourselves by our intentions. And I want to hold you accountable today to value yourself enough to take ownership of your life. That as long as we are breathing, as long as we are alive, as long as God has given us that breath of fresh air to live another day, that we cannot take these days for granted. And we got to be so intentional, especially in a world right now where God knows what's happening. Can you be intentional with your life? Can you be focused enough to hold yourself accountable and move? Number 5 is find a way. Make a way. You know, one of the things I have studied when it comes to anybody at all that has any level of success, whether it be in marriage, I have, you know, specific individuals that I look for in marriage. I have specific people in business. I have specific people in ministry. And all of them have something in common. They find a way. They make a way. We've heard this quote that successful people make a way. Unsuccessful people find an excuse. Successful people find a way. Unsuccessful people find an excuse. And I find it so true because guess what? There's always a solution. There's always a way. There's always a way. There's always something that we can do in the situation that we have. Because if we're not focusing on what we can do, we're focusing on what we can't do, and what we can't do cannot help us. What you can't do, you have to say, okay, God, over to you. But what you can do, you can't expect God to do it for you. When you have the opportunity to do it. I heard someone say one time, when you pray for, you're praying for an opportunity, you're praying for money, or you're praying for resources, God's going to give you the opportunity. You're praying for a cake, he's going to give you the ingredients, right? We hear these analogies all the time, and it's so true. How are you going to pray for something that you can do yourself? When you're asking God for a miracle, right? Don't ask him. It's not a miracle if you can do it yourself, right? Some of you are going to catch that tomorrow, right? You're praying to God to do something for you that you actually can do yourself, that you're not doing because you're lazy, or you're not doing because you're living in fear. You're not doing because you're hiding behind the fake excuses. Listen, find a way. Make a way. There's always a solution. But here's the thing. This is number 6. We got to find the muscle of resilience. In order to raise your standards, you got to understand that when you raise your standards, you're also raising your tolerance for objections. You're raising your tolerance for attack. You're raising your tolerance for higher level problems. There's certain problems that some people will not understand because they're not at that level yet. Can I be honest? There's some of you on this call that won't understand the problems of higher paid taxes because you're not at that level yet. But trust me, when you get to a place, listen, a few years ago, I didn't even know what VAT was. Can I just be real? My accountant calls me and says, Nikki, you got to register for VAT. I said, VAT who? I thought it was only like people like the gas station and the governments and stuff. Do I have to register for that? You don't know about those problems until you get to a certain level. You don't understand about those things. Like the higher the level that you want to get to, the higher your standard raises, understand that you also have to build that muscle of resilience, the muscle of growth, the muscle that can overcome bigger problems. You see, the reason why some of us have not gone to another level yet is because we're still playing around the little problems of the past. Listen, I'm running multi-million-pound business. I don't have time for £5 problems. Sorry, she's on one today. You see, 6 years ago when I was new in the industry, and people used to send me screenshots of these fake Instagram accounts. Oh my God, Nikki, someone's created an Instagram account in your name. They're pretending to be you. They want to take money and da-da-da-da. I was like, oh my God, who would actually want to... want to clone me? Little old me. You got all these fake Instagram accounts. It will be taken aback. I'll be on my page posting, guys, be careful. The scammers are out. 7 years later, people tell me, I'm like, listen, just block and delete. It's not these. The more you grow, certain things are just, ugh. Have you ever had somebody come to you before and tell you something and it used to really be deep and you'd be like, oh my God, did that happen? And now it's just like, my little sister called me last week and I was driving in the car and she was like, sis, you won't believe what happened. And I was like, hopefully not, because I don't want to hear what happened. Don't even tell me. Before I'd be curious. I don't have time to hear what happened. I don't want to know. Because I know it's not going to be anything productive. I know it's not going to be anything that's going to help me. Before I'd be so interested. Now I don't have time to be interested. I said, sis, I don't want to know. I'm sure I won't believe it. And I definitely don't want to believe it. So please don't tell me. And she didn't. God knows what it was. But it can't be that important. Because even the tone of her voice, I knew what was coming. It was an angle. Someone in the family did something, or someone in the family has. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. You see, you got to be resilient in this season where you're able to stop and say to yourself, nah, not today. You see, what was what was entertaining before, what was funny before, what you could laugh about before, it's not funny anymore. You know, when you're a child, you do childish things. How many of us are still doing, and I don't want to go in because I've got this in my next section, so I don't want to go too deep, but we got to let go of the past. Part of growing into the future is becoming the future you. How do you raise your standards, but you're still the old you? How do you raise your standards and you're still living by 2 years ago rules? How do you raise your standards, but you still want approval from the people that are at the other standard? Huh? How does it work? So you now started a business and you're upset that your cousin and them from the chicken shop don't buy from you? Huh? Say what now? Oh, I heard what you're doing is a scam. How's your little business doing? How's your little job doing? How's your little... Listen, you can't have entrepreneurial conversations with people that don't understand entrepreneurship. It doesn't make sense. Unless you are the teacher, you shouldn't be learning from people that don't have the results that you desire in that specific area. But you've got to have resilience. You've got to be able to have a thick skin in this season where you know you're growing to a new level. And there's going to be some people that just don't understand, and that's absolutely fine. Number 7 for you is this. When you want to raise your standards, don't do it blind. When you want to raise your standards, do not do it blind. We have too many blind coaches, mentors, experts out there, and I'm sick of it. Yes, there's an element of, you know, God gave me a vision, let me run with it. There's an element of, yes, I've been called to do this, let me run with it. Let me start today, let me take action, let me stop waiting for things to happen. But you also need to make sure that you are not running blind. What do you mean, Nikki? What do you mean? God gave me a vision that I should lead. He told me to set up an Instagram page. He told me that I should start doing Instagram lives and educating people. He told me to create a flyer and tell people that, I'm going to give them the source. God told me all of that. Yes, he did. But where's the spirit of excellence? Where's your mentorship? The Bible says, study to show yourself approved. Who are you studying? What are you studying? Where are your case studies? When you're in university or college, they tell you have to provide case studies. Where are your case studies? I saw a Zoom a few months back. Somebody invited me to a Zoom call. Nikki, can you come onto this Zoom? It's called How to Make a Million. I said, great. Who's running it? Such and such. Okay, when did they make a million? Oh, they haven't made a million. So the person who is telling you how to make a million has never made a million. Okay, is that the world we're living in now? Where people do not have to, the world of social media means that nobody has to show themselves approved, that we can just go on there. God gave me a vision and I can go and teach, and I can, without accrediting myself, without educating myself, without being under mentorship, without really having the accreditation. Now, don't get me wrong, God, he anoints and he calls those that are called. I understand that, but you still need to work on your craft. You still need to have a spirit of excellence. Don't run blind. And especially if you're a leader of leaders, study to show yourself approved. Put the work in. Take the course. Pay for mentorship. Pay for that education workshop. Whatever it is to upskill yourself. But stop running blind. We got too many blind people leading blind people. I can't stand. I saw a post the other day and I was literally in the chats because I was like, we need to save some souls here. Somebody typed in the chat, and I'm going to ask you guys this. Somebody typed in the chat, they said this is the post. I can give you £100,000 now, cash, right? Here's the question. I'm going to give you £100,000 now, cash. Or I can give you a clear credit score where your credit score is the top, 1,000, whatever it is, right? 100,000 cash, clear credit score, or pay your mortgage off. Which one are you going to put in there? Go on, somebody tell me in the chat. I can give you your mortgage paid off, 100,000 in cash, or I can give you a credit score that's going to be the top that enables you with whatever credit they're talking about, right? You have three options. A, B, or C. A, 100 grand. B, the mortgage paid off, so you have no mortgage to pay. Or C, you have a credit score, right? Now, if you're mentored by me, you will know A is the answer all day, every day. All day, every day, guys. But the lack mindset, the broke mindset, the uneducated mindset will pick the mortgage. Why? Because you think if you can save £800 a month or £1,000 a month, or worst case scenario, your mortgage is £2,000 a month, £3,000 a month. You think to yourself, if I can only save that money, then that's an extra X amount I have in my account. You're not thinking that there are businesses for home. Online, there are businesses that you can run from your home. You can go to different business websites and you can buy a business for 50, 60, 70, 80,000 pounds. That is going to give you a revenue of 5, 10, 15,000 a month. Now, this is what we're talking about, like having the education and the knowledge, right? And it frustrates me so much because we have people giving advice, broke people giving financial advice, and they have large networks and large communities looking up to them, and they have no idea. Study to show yourself approved. Get under the right mentorship for each thing. Listen, if you're somebody that says, Nikki, I need a mentor to lose weight, can you mentor me? Girl, I can't even mentor myself. Right now, I'm here mentoring myself to lose weight. I will not take you on. Why? Because I'm not qualified. Have you seen my belly lately? I like to eat. And I'm very proud to say I married a chef because of it. I am not your mentor to help you lose weight. Maybe I can give you some mindset to be consistent in that, but that's not my ministry, y'all. Say what now? But if you talk to me about financial literacy, if you talk to me about business and strategy, if you talk to me about those areas and women empowerment and writing a book and how you can sell online, then we can talk. Talk to me about currencies and exchanging and making money online. Talk to me about retreats. We can talk. I know my ministry. I know exactly what it is that I'm called to do. I know exactly what I'm not called to do. But here's the thing is, I'm still a student in my field. I spend thousands of pounds learning, so that I don't lead blind. We got to make sure that we're not leading blind. So number one, don't let this year be like the last year. Number two, stop waiting for things to happen. Number three, make progress. Number four, take ownership and value yourself. Number five, find a way, make a way. Number six, we've got to build that muscle of resilience. And number seven is making sure that we are under mentorship. We cannot lead blind. We cannot lead blind. It is not good enough to just be, rolling out in these streets, especially when you have responsibilities to other people. We've got to make sure we're upskilling. We're going to keep growing, right? Now, in order to do this, I want to break down three simple things, and then I'm going to come out of your way, right? But in order to do this, you've got to ask yourself a few questions, right? Three questions, in fact. The first one is, what are you going to focus on? What are you going to focus on? That's the first one. What are you focusing on? Now, as we said before, focus is a feeling. So whatever you focus on, you're going to feel, right? If you're focusing on your marriage, you're going to feel that marriage. You're focusing on your business, you're going to feel it. Because whatever we do most of the time off of our feelings. Really got to make sure that we're focusing. and making sure that we're really tunneled in. What are you focusing on right now? And there's patterns to our focus, right? There's patterns to our focus. And there's different levels. You can, and here's what I want you to ask yourself. Number one is this. When you're focusing, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on what you have? Or are you focusing on what is missing? Do you spend most of your time focusing on what you have, or do you spend most of your time focusing on what is missing? Because if you want happiness, let me tell you this, you're never going to be happy if you keep focusing on what's missing. If you consistently focus on what is missing in your life, you're forever going to be chasing something that you don't have. What are you focusing on? Because your brain is very clever. If whatever your brain focuses on, that's how you're going to feel, right? Whatever we think about, that's what we become. So if you're focusing, if your brain is consistently thinking about all the things that's missing, are you wondering why you're upset all the time? You wondering why you don't find joy on a daily basis? Are you wondering why you just never feel satisfied? Do you know there's so many miserable, successful people? I was one of them. I was one of them. Because I forgot to focus on what I had. How is it that you're earning £25,000 a month, living way below your means? You got the husband of your dreams, children in private school, children happy, getting great results, retired parents, eating out every week, living the life. Did I say eating out? Eating and eating and eating and still feel depressed. How? Because you've forgotten to remember what you have. And you're focusing so much on what you don't have, what you think is missing. When you focus on what you have, there's joy, there's happiness, it's gratitude, you're excited, you're alive. That doesn't mean you don't have goals, but you're just intentional about focusing on what you have. Because if you focus on what you have, gratitude is the seed for more. So what have you channeled your focus on? To focus on what you have or to focus on what you're missing? And then you ask yourself, well, what does this mean? What does it mean? If I'm focusing on what I have, what does this mean? Because it either means, okay, a mean is an emotion, again, how I'm feeling. It either means this is the start of something, or it's a journey of something. So I'm focusing on it. What does it mean? How do I feel in this moment? So I'm focusing on it. What does it mean? What does it mean to me? So when you're focusing on your marriage, you're focusing on your relationships, you're focusing on your business, it should mean that you're in love with that process. It should mean that you're excited about that process. I still get excited when Anton comes home from work. I still wait for him at the door when he comes home from work, most days. Right? I still can't wait to check my back office and see the new person who's joined in the business. I still love and get excited when I see somebody I've coached make money in the markets. I still get excited hearing the testimonies. Every single time I hear good news stories, I get excited. I'm so passionate about it. That's what it means to me, because it means that there's freedom. People are getting free based on the information. So guess what? It's got to mean something. Your focus has to mean something. What does it mean to you? What's the emotion that you're getting out of it? Remember, your thoughts impact your emotions. This is TEAR, T-E-A-R. Your thoughts impact your emotions, which ultimately determine your actions, which then give you the results. What does it mean? What does it mean to you to focus on that thing, right? And I want to ask you a few questions off the back of that. And I'm done. Right? So yeah, the third one was action. what action do you take? So it's what are you focusing on? What does it mean? And then the action. So check this out. Here's another one for you. So I ask you this, do you focus on what you have or do you focus on what's missing? Here's another one. Do you focus on what you can do or do you focus on what you can't do? So many people focus on what they can't do. I see it on a daily basis. So many people, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm unable to do this. I can't do this. I can't do that. It's so many. Who remembers when they were younger, your parents didn't let you say can't? I swear, some adults, because their parents didn't let them say can't when they were younger, they're making up for it now. And they say it every single minute of the day. Oh, I can't do this. I can't. Can you delete that out of your vocab? Can you start to say things like, I can do? This is what I can do. This is what I am doing. Do you focus more on what you can do and what you can't do? Do people hear more about your limitations to what you can do? It's interesting, we had this this survey, and only the brave people can do a survey like this. We do this survey all the time. I do it with my mentees, I do it with my retreaters. And only the brave can do this because most people are too scared to do it. And it's to send this survey out to the people that they serve or their family members and ask them a question. And the survey asks them, you know, what do you think of me? 3 words that come to mind. And I asked my children this. I asked my husband this, and I said, look, just do it freely. Because I want to know, I really want to know, what are the 3 words that come to mind when you think of me? Are you that bold enough to ask for feedback? Do you have anybody who can tell you the truth? What do you think I can work on from your opinion? This is not any randoms. These are the ones that are close to you. And if they say, you know, sometimes you're negative all the time and, you know, you complain a lot. So, but I didn't think I did. Yeah, because you judge everyone else by their actions and you by your intentions. You intended to be positive. You intended to go home and put the good energy in the house. You intended to be the fun person in the house. You intended to, but no one can't see your intentions. They only see your actions. When was the last time you told your spouse you love them? When was the last time you told your kids, let's take a walk down the park? When was the last time you looked around at yourself and said, you know what? I am grateful for this life that I live. Let me call my parents and tell them I am blessed and highly favored and I'm grateful that they're still alive. When was the last time you actually appreciated what you say you're working so hard for? Do you focus on what you can or can't control? And before I tell you the last question is this, how do you feel? If you focus on what's missing, let me rephrase that because I know nobody on here does this. But somebody you know somewhere in the world, in your phone book, focuses all the time on what's missing and what they can't control. What do you think of those types of people? When you speak to someone and all they do is talk about what they don't have, what they can't control, what the government are doing, what the people in school, the baby father's doing, what the wife isn't doing, what the teachers are doing. How do you feel about that conversation you're having with that person? I know every single one of us, right? Every single one of us have come into contact with, at some point, somebody like that. In the chats, you're saying you want to avoid them, you want to run away. They feel draining. Now, what if that person was you? What if you were the person that people want to run away from and avoid because that's the energy they get from you? I pray not. I want to be an energy vampire. I don't want to suck no one's joy out of them. I want people to feel better because they connected with me, not worse. And so part of me raising my bar means I've got to separate sometimes with anything that's just giving me that kind of negative energy. I got to put my boundaries in place. That's a bonus for you. For those of you leveling up, you got to put boundaries in place. You got to put a surface. You got to put protection. I saw a video today about a protection around you. Or your boundaries are so loose. You let everybody in. Your boundaries are so low that everybody can call your phone and sit there and chew your ear off for 2 hours. Your boundaries are so low because you have a need to please people that you haven't addressed that yet. And in order to raise the bar, we got to address some of those issues, right? Let me tell you this, achievers predominantly focus their time on the future and grateful for their present. Unachievers focus on the past. Unachievers focus on all the things that happened wrong. And the final question is, do you focus too much on the past, present, or the future? Where is your focus lying? Where do you put most of your time? Where do most of your conversations come from? Do they come from the point of where you're going and what's happening in the future? Does it come from a place of being grateful for where you're at? Or is it always complaining, focusing on where you should have, would have been, or who's hurt you and all of that? I started this call with saying some conversations are just like, we can't have those conversations anymore, babes. We're not doing it in this year, maybe in 1992, but we're doing personal development. So as I develop personally, I don't have the same old conversations anymore. And so what used to trigger me before doesn't trigger me anymore. So Nikki, this says something about you. Such and such could say whatever about me, but there's certain things such and such can never say about me. There's just some things some people can never say about me now. I'm very clear that the higher the level, the higher the calling. Listen, if you pleasing everybody, you ain't pushing yourself to the level of uncomfortability. You can't please everybody in life. Quit wanting to be a people pleaser. You can't. And great leaders can never please everyone. Decisions have to be made. Decisions have to be made. You see, when Job was going through all of that, Job didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. He just had to trust. He had to trust that he had a leader that was bigger than where he could see. He couldn't see what was going on. So all the trials and tribulations that he had to bear, that he had to overcome, he didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. Abraham and Sarah didn't understand what was going to happen when they were going to, bear fruit and he was going to be the father of many nations. He just had to trust the process. Sometimes you go through years of drought, years of no harvest, years of things just happening. You don't understand why, but you have to trust. You've got to trust. Don't do Lot's wife. Don't do Lot's wife. And if you don't know your word, you can Google that later. Don't do Lot's wife. Don't do it. I don't care what it looks like right now, but in the season that you're in, if you're in a good season, listen, good is the enemy of great. We're going to get great. If you're in a great season, it's time for you to help somebody else get great. If you're in a season where you're manifesting greatness, it's time for you to go and raise that bar. Wherever you are, it's time to raise the bar. And I'm going to close out on this, right? So to wrap up, we said, focus. What are we focusing on? Why are we focusing on it? That's the meaning. And then the action. What are you going to do about it? What are you actually going to do about what it is that you want out of your life? You want to focus on it. You have to make sure that you're taking the relevant action that's going to get you to the next level. And we're going to do it with a spirit of excellence. This is not a season to not have a ring light. I don't want to see no one online with a black screen. Get a ring light. They're cheap. This is a season where we need to start to elevate, where we need to upgrade technology, where we need to make sure we have the right equipment, where we need to make sure, listen, the world is so competitive right now, very saturated, that we have to raise the bar. We have to lift the boundaries. That's just it. 10 years ago, I could go on Instagram with a dark camera and people would still buy from me. Now, the levels have changed. I know about you singles, but these days, the standards are higher. The standards are high. You can't say, if you're women on the call, you can't say you're ready for a man. You can't say you're ready for that husband and you ain't done the mental work. Right now, there's too much personal development online for men. I saw a video today that said how to spot when a woman has traits of past baggage you don't want to touch. Listen, they're getting clued up now. These videos, they're cluing people like, you've got to do the work now, ladies. You can't keep going into new marriages and new relationships with dead baggage and old hurt and all this past stuff. Social media has meant that people are getting information faster. So before you even think of being ready for a man, being ready for marriage, you better make sure that you're healing yourself. You've actually healed before you go and hurt someone's boy child, right? Because you're bringing in past baggage in, and vice versa. Men, the women are clued up now. The women are like, hey, I saw a video where a guy was like, listen, to marry my wife, I needed to show that I could look after her financially. I had to prove this and that to her parents. I had to do this and that. Like, people are raising the bar in all areas. It is not as simple as it was back in the day to just set up now and go. There's so many people out there attempting to do. Haven't you been online and seen coach, mentor? Everybody's a coach and a mentor. What makes you unique? What makes you different? What is your USP? What is going to make you, stand out from the rest? It's not good enough to just be, I'm a coach. I'm helping people heal. I'm, letting you believe in yourself. Everybody's saying those things. Everybody's here saying the same things over and over again. Who are you? What's your unique selling point? Why should people connect with you? Why should people do business with you? Why should people want to be around you? You got to work on that. Work on, part of raising the bar is having that USP, knowing who you are, being accredited for what it is that you're doing, and making sure you're very clear on your offering, whether that's professionally or business-wise, or personal-wise. And I'm going to leave you with this as we get off this call, is this. Before you procrastinate another day, I want to leave you with this. And I heard it today and I was like, yeah, I need to share this. It said this: a healthy man has many wishes. A healthy man has many wishes, but a sick man only has one. Let's be grateful. Let's not wait until our back's against the wall, until we have 5 days to live, until we have this and that and this and that, before we make a decision to move with a spirit of excellence. I'm so excited for each and every one of you, and the homework this week is for you to just list out exactly what you're going to be doing this week to make sure that your focus is everywhere where it needs to be. Maybe it is your focus on, what's missing instead of what you have. And maybe you just need to have a week of focusing on what you have. Maybe you need to have a week where you're focusing on what's in your control. What can I do? As opposed to what you can't do. And maybe you need to have a week where you focus on the future and not the past and the present, and keep reminding yourself of where you are and reminding yourself of what happened to you. But your homework tonight is to have a look at those 3 sections and think about what it is that you can do to be able to raise your standards this week and in this season. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. It's your girl, Nikki Sutherland, financial literacy expert, money and mindset mentor. I am Nikki Sutherland on Instagram. I will never ask you for money, nor Bitcoin, nor crypto. And if they do attempt to scam you, please don't message me, just block and delete them. But I will never, ever, ever ask you for any money at all, okay? This is the Monday Mindset Call. Each and every Monday we are here. Set your alarms. It's the same link, same time, every single Monday. All right. And I am looking forward to seeing you again next week. If you are interested in any areas in which I am doing, then please reach out to me at therebuild.co.uk. You will see all the stuff there from the women's retreats. We have the trading retreats. We also have the events coming up. And you can go ahead and have a look at any of the products and services that we offer over at therebuild.co.uk. For corporate stuff and group sessions, go over to nikkisutherland.co.uk and you'll find everything that I do over there. Just a quick reminder, I will never, ever, ever ask you to send me Bitcoin, crypto, Western Union or MoneyGram. Okay, so be very, very safe in these internet streets. The rebuild.co.uk/shop or nikkisutherland.co.uk.